Welcome to The Fast That I Choose. I'm John Shematak.
And I'm Lauren Welch.
Lauren and I are going to be talking with you about Lent. Very appropriately, this is Ash Wednesday. Our first episode is being aired on Ash Wednesday. And when you think about Lent, particularly with what we've all been going through for the past just about a year now, you think, oh my goodness, it's felt like Lent. And are we really going to talk? Are these people really going to talk to us about fasting? And I guess we're probably talking about a different kind of fasting, aren't we, Lauren?
I think we are, John. I think when we were fasting during COVID since last March, that's been a fast that has been imposed upon us. What we're talking about for Lent and our Lenten journey in 2021 is choosing a fast, choosing something that we want to fast from because it is not helpful to us, and we want to choose something that will be spiritually enhancing, that will help our relationship with God and one another. So we want to feast on another quality, another behavior or action.
And I think that we're even kind of thinking about not so much fasting as not so much a giving up something in the way we've often thought about it. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up and people at Lent, they'd always say, what are you giving up for Lent? And it always was something, that I really liked, like chocolate or later on in life, wine. Now I'm not thinking so much about giving up something for Lent or even taking on something for Lent, like a spiritual discipline, but letting go of something this Lent.
Oh, I agree with you, John. We can let go of something. We can choose to let go of something. During COVID, we were not choosing to let go of our relationships with our grandchildren, with our parents, with friends and relatives. So during this Lent, what we can do is choose to let go of something that is, again, not helpful to our relationships with God or one another.
And maybe we should take a step backward and look at what we hear on Ash Wednesday. Now, probably none of us or few of us are going to actually be in church anywhere to hear the traditional exhortation for a holy Lent, the wish and prayer that each one of us is able to observe Lent in a way that brings us more toward wholeness and more toward redemption. And in the traditional church, what we have heard in the exhortation is asking that we undertake several practices during Lent. One is prayer or study. The other is fasting. And the third is almsgiving or caring for the poor. What inspired us to do this series is actually from the Bible and from what was written in Isaiah, somewhere in Isaiah, which I know you're going to tell us exactly where it is, that is read every Ash Wednesday in Lent. So, Lauren, take it away.
Yes, John, this is from Isaiah 58, and where I'm reading verses 6 through 9. Is not this the fast that I choose? To loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and to bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover them, and not to hide yourself from your own kin. Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up quickly. So we're going to talk about fasting and what we might fast from. And we're going to be talking about another choice that we would make. And John, you're a gifted photographer, and you have a photograph that you want to share with us that will help us on our Lent as we ponder these things on our Lenten journey.
Thanks, Lauren. I don't know how gifted I am, but I've been lucky to be in amazing places with the camera. This picture, which you're looking at, is one that I was lucky enough to take as we were walking along the Camino de Santiago in northern Spain. And what you see in the picture was really struck me at the time. We were fortunate to have guides that told us where to go. But what you see here is a fork in the road, and you can take the one to the left or the one to the right. I don't actually remember which one we took, but it did get us there, and I don't know what would have happened had we taken the other. So I think this is where you and I have really become very excited about the concept of choice. Word in our title, the fast that I choose, is important. We're talking about fast, possibly in a completely different way from how I've ever thought about it, at least. Mm-hmm. And this is a fast that I choose, that each one of us is responsible for choosing. And very importantly, as you mentioned earlier, this is about choice because we do have choice.
Example, right now, during COVID, we're all waiting for shots. And so if I worry and panic every day because I haven't come up in some line to get my appointment, that doesn't do me any good, and it doesn't bring the shot any closer to me. But if I trust God, if I trust that there's going to be enough, my time will come, then I will be a happier person, and I also will get my shot. So I can fast from worry, do what I need to do, sign up where I need to sign up and check things, but give up the worry and the anxiety and trust that God will provide and will provide for each one of us. So that's the kind of fasting that I'm thinking about. And you, John?
I'm thinking about something very similar, Lauren, particularly when you mention waiting for the COVID vaccine and looking around at how the decisions are being made in different jurisdictions about who gets it first. Mm-hmm. And what I'm very happy to see, it's going to make me wait in line a little bit longer, but one of the things that's really called to my consciousness is that people who are more, let me put it this way, people who are not as advantaged and privileged as I am will be first in line. There will be, for people who are poor, who Black, Latino, will be receiving the vaccine before I do. And I think that's entirely appropriate. This is a question of equity. This is a question of fairness. This is a question of repairing the mess that we're in terms of relationships in this country and in our city. So all those kinds of, what do I have to fast from? I think I probably have to fast from being judgmental about others. I need to fast from I need to fast from attitudes that are not helpful. I need to fast from attitudes I have about people that belong to other groups as the other and not perhaps not valuing them as much as I should. So there are all these opportunities for fasting that the COVID vaccine situation has really brought to light for me.
Mm-hmm. For me too, John. I mean, all through the year, actually, I thought about it, but I haven't embraced it as something that could be positive. And I'm hoping that during this Lent, that it will have it will deepen my spirituality more than I think that it has in the past year.
Yeah, and that's got to be what Lent is all about, right? It's sort of getting in touch with your spiritual core. It's about setting relationships right within ourselves, within our communities, within all of creation, and with between us as individuals and communities and the divine one. So, gosh, if we could even make one little step in that direction, that's success. I guess we shouldn't be thinking too much about success in this light, but if we could take one little step in that direction, I think that's bringing us closer, at least, to what God's desire for creation is.
What God's desire is, and what Jesus taught us and is calling us to do, to follow Him. It's the way of love rather than the way of like you say, being judgmental and being wanting to be first all the time. It's serving others. It's and Jesus is calling us to follow in His footsteps, His passion, His life and passion, so that we can eventually see the other side and rejoice in the resurrection.
Yeah, that sounds like what Lent is really supposed to be about. It does. And so we're hoping that this series will help us as two longtime friends and deacons in the church, but mainly friends, that we can travel this road together. We're hoping that you will join us on this road. You heard us hint at least some of the themes that you'll hear that we'll discuss over the next 6 weeks. You've heard us hint at some of the fast froms that we think we need, and we'll look at the other side of that coin. We'll look at what we can feast on. If we fast from and let go, we create room within ourselves and our hearts and our souls to feast on attitudes, behaviors that are life enhancing and that bring us to a place that is so much better than where we are right now.
And won't that be nice? That will be true resurrection, if we can do that.
This brings our introductory session this Ash Wednesday to a close. We've got 6 more weeks to be together, to pray together, to reflect together. And one thing that we decided at the end of each of the sessions, that one of us would read this passage from Micah, which happens to be a favorite. I know it's on Lauren's emails at the bottom of all of them. You'll see one of the verses. But right now, Lauren, would you do us the honor of closing us out with this passage from Micah?
This is from Micah chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before Him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give Him my firstborn for my transgressions, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has told you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice, and to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God?
Thank you all for being with us. You can find us at our website, www.listeningforclues.com. Until next time, bye.